Okay, so we can go ahead now and get, if I can say, all the explanation that you may need. I know there'll be several people who want some clarifications. Let's go ahead with that, Margaret.
Thank you, Chamberlain. We have with us in the studios Mohammed Babandede, who is the Controller General, Nigeria Immigration Service. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you.
Well, it's a good thing to have you in our studios. We're always seeing you online if you're not joining us via Skype, but it's good to see you physically.
It's a pleasure to be here also. It's a very nice place.
And indeed, it's something new which is bringing you here. Nigeria has just launched a new visa policy. We heard you in the report there saying it is stronger than any visa that you will even get in our embassies abroad. Is that what you were trying to say?
Absolutely.
What exactly makes it stronger?
I would like to assure Nigerians that the product has been produced through a diligent process. When you are able to produce a document with due consultation of all stakeholders in a strategic way, you will be able to get a good document. This visa policy was initiated by a committee in our office. We took it to a retreat. We took it to management conference. Then we invited stakeholders, all the armed forces, the police, security agencies, and presented it to them. What fears do you have in this visa? Do you have security fears? Do you have economic fears? Do you have other? All of them were raised, and we addressed them. So I'm glad to say that this document is not a hasty document. It's a document well planned, and it is part of the product of our bigger strategic document called Border Management Strategy 2019 to 2023. So part of the activities is to revise our visa policy.
What has necessitated that revision of our visa policy?
Each country developed visa for its own interest. The first visa policy in Nigeria came in 1958 during colonial rule. The colonial government produced a new visa policy which will depend their colonial interests. Let me tell you one interesting about it, one single interest. During the colonial time, they divided person coming into Nigeria into two: aliens and Commonwealth citizens. That was the division. If you are an alien, you are not a citizen of Commonwealth, and you get tougher control. You have to register. We had an alien registration system, but if you are Commonwealth, you can come and enter visa-free and nobody disturb you. That was the interest of Her Majesty's colonial government. But when we got independence in 1963, the visa system was reviewed, Immigration Act came, there was Visa Policy 2012. So as Nigeria has changed with strong security challenges, as a growing economy, at any time there is growth in the economy, there will be security challenges. We say the downside of growth. If the economy grows, criminality will follow. It is normal sign of development. So this visa policy looks at the Nigerian socio-economic political situation so that it can address it.
So what we see here, it looks like we have a new policy on visa on arrival. Is that correct?
No. Visa on arrival is only a component of it. It is called Nigeria Visa Policy 2020, which means we are looking at all form of entry into Nigeria.
Okay.
So visa on arrival is component of it. You can get visa at the missions. If you are coming here to take residency, to take up employment, to join spouses, either temporary, you must get your visa in our missions. So you can see that is another sector of it. If you are coming for a short visit, if you are an African, you can get your visa at the point of entry. So you can see the differences. It also affected residency. We have given special consideration to investment visa, which it means we need to work with the investment commission, with CBN to see that if you have amount of money or investment, you can automatically take your visa and take residency. That's what it addresses.
So the tourism visa, investment, the business traveler visa, and that range of visas, it was seen that you have expanded the number of visas that can actually be obtained on arrival. Because before now, we remember that in the federal government's drive, in the pushing the ease of doing business, visa on arrival was one of the things that they had pushed before now. What is the difference between that policy which they were pushing and what we currently have?
Good. Before, we had only visa on arrival for businessmen. Whether you are an African, whether you're European, whether you're American, if you are coming to do business in Nigeria, you can log into www.immigration.gov.ng, complete a visa application form, pay the money, submit it. Within 24 hours, officers will approve it online. There is no human contact. You will get the approval, start coming to the airport. That is visa on arrival, but with free approval. You have to get the electronic approval before you start coming. This is given to all people who are coming to do business, whether they're African or not. But now we have changed it. We have expanded the category that Africans, they don't need to even apply. They can pick their bag and come and pick the visa at the point of entry, but only in 4 airports. We are giving same solution to tourists, but we are working along with all the agencies responsible for tourism, so that when you say you are coming for tourism, you cannot go anywhere. Nigeria must benefit from your tourism. We need to know where you are going for tourism, and there must be tour operators who will organize your trip so that these people will benefit. So the changes are enormous in terms of opportunity for people to pick their visa at the point of entry. Those who will benefit more are Nigerian in diaspora. We have citizens of Nigeria who have acquired nationality of a country where there is no dual citizenship. I give you an example. If you become a German citizen, for example, or if you become an Indian national, or a Chinese, or a Japanese, you cannot keep your Nigerian nationality, even though Nigeria accepts dual citizenship. So Nigeria says, look, but you are still my citizen. You have your father here, or your uncle, or your relations. Why do we treat you with same treatment with a Japanese or a German who has no descent here? So we said this category of people who are working details with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they can pick their visa at the point of entry. So you can see this innovation is to keep our cultural affiliation together, to also bring people who can help in emergency. I give you one case. We have visa for emergency relief at the point of entry. If there is emergency in Nigeria, God forbid, and we need an expert to take consideration of the situation, that person can pick a visa on arrival at the point of entry based on request of, for example, like NEMA or Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. So it's very proactive to serve Nigerian interests, not to serve any other person.
Okay. How are we ensuring, how are we ensuring that we're safeguarding the process? Because you say that you went around all the agencies, relevant sister bodies, to find out what their fears were going to be, and that you consulted widely and you have been able to successfully address all the fears. Can you tell us some of the fears they raised and the safeguards you put in place?
First, I would like to say that we did a meeting, stakeholders meeting. I didn't go around, they sent their representative, we did a meeting. We have an acronym. We call it RESET in this national visa policy. There is a yardstick where we measure all the activities, all the form of visas we issue. It's called RESET. Re means reciprocity. There is no need for us to continue giving visa on arrival, liberalized visa to people who don't do it for us. So after we run it for a certain period, we'll be able to tell government that, look, we are dealing with country A. We have given country A facilities to this. This country facility is even harder on Nigerians. So there will be reciprocity. Also, there are countries who give us multiple visas, which we don't give. If you take like UK and US, they give us up to 2 years and 5 years multiple visa. This reciprocity allows us to give the same. So you can see the re. The set, the S is security. Anything we do, if it will compromise national security, it will be dropped. You had the Mr. President said, without compromising national security. So all things we are doing, we make sure people are documented. Let me tell you one of the things that Nigerians should believe it enhances Nigerian security. In the last 2 months, if a visitor is coming to Nigeria, or even a Nigerian is coming into Nigeria, you just present your passport in the airport. We scan the passport and then stamp it and say bye-bye to you. But since this policy has been approved by Mr. President and he has directed us to make sure there is security before implementation, we have introduced biometric capture at the airports, and it affects everybody, including Nigerians. If you pass through the airport today, you do a finger scan and picture will be taken. You can see enhanced security.
But we already did finger scans when we were getting our national passports.
I'm sure you must have done one when you are going into London. When you are going into London or New York, you will do finger scan. And when even themselves are entering their country, they do finger scan is not punishment. It's just to make sure you are the same person. We have to link you with the document. And it's done everywhere. In most part of the airport in the world, it's been done. So it's an enhanced security.
The argument would be that this is only for people who are coming in through the airports. That some of the challenges that we have faced in recent times have been people coming in from our land borders. Nigeria is known to have very porous borders. You have, as the agents, the Nigeria Immigration Service has embarked on a registration of Africans, non-Nigerians, who are living in Nigeria. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
I think sometime last year that started.
Yeah.
You had the new collaboration with sister agencies from other countries along the borderline. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
How far with that particular exercise, and how does it sink into what we're currently doing?
First, I agree with you. We have a landmass border. It's huge. That could be the main reason why we said visa on arrival for Africans will only be picked at the airports for now. But let me tell you, we have not neglected the land borders. We have 18 places where we do the biometric scan at the land borders. And with the resources, we'll expand those locations. Also, very key, even if you missed us at the border, because the border is vast, we have put in place e-registration of migrant. We have already registered almost 240,000 people, migrant. It's very interesting. Before Mr. President gave the pardon, almost 65 of them are irregular. I don't want to tell you what we're going to do with them. It's not at this level. So we are taking measures to make sure that all the concerns raised, if you say, okay, if they come in through the land border, they will be forced to register because you can't stay 90 days without registering. If you said they're Africans, they may pass through the land border, we say no. They cannot be accepted to arrive through the land border. The only African country that is not a member of the ECOWAS along our border is Cameroon. We have visa abolition agreement with the Cameroon. So there is no way we can take any country in Africa to come into Nigeria without visa. If they come through the land border, they will be returned.
Well, part of the security challenges which we're facing is the influx of people into the country without any registration whatsoever, without any documentation whatsoever. I believe it's one of the reasons why you started that e-registration, to perhaps document them and give them a soft landing. How successful would you say that exercise has been, and has it been able to achieve the desired results?
It's very successful, very, very successful, because we have seen the truth of the matter, that majority of migrants in our territory are staying irregularly. It's true. You can see the percentage. We're talking about almost 70-30, not 70, let's say 65-45, which means there are more people staying irregularly than now. But we have captured them already. We have gotten their biometrics. They can't change. They're the same people. So we'll give them opportunity to regularize if they are supposed to be regularized. If they cannot, they can leave. I give you an example. If you are a citizen of a country other than ECOWAS, and we found out that you are staying in Nigeria as a carpenter, I'm just giving you an example. So you cannot do that job. We are sorry, we have documented you. You cannot pay the penalties of overstay, because there's penalty for overstay, but you have to leave the country. So we are doing a lot to make sure this is involved. It's a huge issue. So there is control before entry, because it's web-based. You can get the visa web-based. You can get it at the port of entry. And all these are going to be connected into one. Even the migrant registration is connected to the airport. Our passports are connected to the airports. So when you do a scanning, if you are passport, you are not the holder of passport, we will know. We have arrested two people just 2 days ago with fake passport. Surprisingly, even fake, not diplomatic passport for Nigeria. It was fake, because the document system will alert, and that officer cannot continue clearance. His supervisor will be informed, an alert will come. You are on a counter, you put a document is fake, or a person is wanted, it will alert the supervisor. And that officer cannot do further clearance, so the supervisor will come and pick that person. So the compromise is less because there is an alert, and we are working, God's willing, with the Department of Security to take charge as our supervisors, so that when there is problem, they can take charge of the situation together with our supervisors. I think the system is very good. It's working on the airport. If journalists want to have a look without documenting, we can allow them to have a look.
I will certainly take that opportunity up to see how it works, because it will engender confidence in the Nigerian people that something is being done to check the influx of foreigners, even though there's still huge concerns as to what happens from our borders, and especially the areas that we are not manning. Are we giving up on the fact that, you know, yes, we have a huge landmass and that some people will continue to take advantage of areas that, you know, are not sufficiently manned? Are we giving up on those areas which we cannot sufficiently man?
You are aware that Mr. President has approved Operation Swift Response, which is the border drill. It's ongoing still. During this border drill, a lot of things have emerged. I don't want to tell you about the drugs, about arms issue is concerned of my colleague in customs. But nature of human beings we have seen are enormous. We have returned, we have arrested people who are Asians, and they found themselves at the land borders, which they shouldn't. Why should you come all the way, fly to another place and start coming into Nigeria to land borders? We found out that, yes, people used to enter Nigeria not through the recognized port. So the ECOWAS rule is very clear. It says each member state citizen can enter into each other's country only through recognized port of entry and with a valid travel document. And that's what we're doing. In the Operation Swift Response, we've been assisted by other security agencies, the military, the police, the DSS. We are working all together. You can't cross through unrecognized port. We'll direct you to come. And if you don't have travel document, we'll return you. So you can see we are doing our best in the land border. Mr. President has already approved e-border. We are going to have e-border in 84 locations.
What does e-border mean?
E-border means we can see what is happening real time at the borders. You will be invited to come to headquarters also. You can see that we can see one border now real time as a pilot case, what is going on. And if we have enough operational basis, which we can respond to other law enforcement, because we want to connect them with other law enforcement so that they can respond whenever we see challenges at the border. We have also done forward operational basis. Just last year, December, Minister of Interior commissioned one in Ogun, and then we commissioned one in Daura control post. So far, we have commissioned 18 forward operational bases. What does operational base mean? Immigration officers should not sit down at the border control post and await people to come and cross or pass, because people will not. So we have established what we call forward operational bases, a base of 31 officers with their patrol commander, with radio communication, with accommodation, very good accommodation. Solar system allows even air conditioning for them, with armory, with patrol vehicles, arms, so that they patrol the planks of the borders and stay behind. We are going to link this to one dream we have. Immigration has a dream, like going to the moon. The moon we want to go is to have a technology building, which was approved by Mr. President last year, where everything of this technology will converge in one place. It will be shared with law enforcement real-time online. The building has reached already 80% by Julius Berger, and it will be commissioned before the end of this year. If you look at the document for my immigrant, for Nigerian visa policy behind, you will see the technology building. But these are things you need to see. These technologies will come together and will be shared with the law enforcement and our international personnel real-time online. So we are doing something on the land borders. We are supposed to represent other law enforcement at the borders. There is no need for many law enforcement to be around. Whenever there is a problem, they tell us, like the way we do represent them. If EFCC is in need of somebody, we know. We arrest the person, I hand over to EFCC. If ICPC is looking for somebody, we know. They give us, we arrest and give to them. If the military knows. So this time, this technology building will bring opportunities that when the suspect hit the border, the law enforcement will get the alert real-time online. Interpol will get real-time online. If it is Germany that is looking for a terrorist, he arrives at the border, they will get the alert. So we are doing very well in terms of that technology.
That is a dream that the
it's
immigration...
already, it's not a dream.
You said it was
already,
a dream.
Yeah, but already we have
said.
started. I have told you that the e-border system is already like...
You have a pilot system that...
foreseeing what is happening.
Yes.
But in the airport, if you go to Murtala Mohammed Airport or Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, you will see a clearance system that is biometric, that is capturing people real-time online. You will see it. And if you are suspect person needed globally, you touch the system, will get alert. You cannot be clear, you will be stopped. We have been arresting people daily people who are wanted by EFCC, people who are wanted by ICPC. We have been arresting people. So police give us feedback every day. So it's not a dream. What I'm saying is that the final dream is to have everything in one place. And that place is like going to the moon. That's why they call technology building. That technology building will provide a warehouse of all our information before you leave, when you want to travel. If we have advanced passenger information on you before you leave your country, if you are buying ticket, for example. If you board an aircraft, we'll have information. If you arrive at the border, we'll have the information. If you enter our country, we'll have alert that it is time for you to go back. And this dream is visible this year. I want to deliver this before the end of 2020.
Okay, well, we certainly hope that you're able to achieve that. That's something that we Nigerians will be hoping that you'll be able to achieve. But let's go back to the new visa policy. For those who are non-Nigerians and some of the non-Nigerians whom will be caught in for investment purposes and what have you, what exactly is in this policy that they can look forward to make their coming to Nigeria easier?
Yeah, thank you very much. This new visa policies has clearly defined how you can enter Nigeria. Let me give you the people who can enter Nigeria. We have issued a circular to our control post, and they have communicated to carriers. And IATA is aware that anybody who is a citizen of ECOWAS, it means he's in possession of ECOWAS passport, he should be allowed to board an aircraft for Nigeria, anywhere he is in the world, without a visa, because that person does not require a visa to enter Nigeria. Secondly, now, any person who is in possession of African passport, whether you are living in New York or you are living in New Delhi, airlines should allow him to board aircraft because he is entitled to visa at the point of entry, because he's flying. If he's coming by car, they will not pick him. So that's the second category of person. Any person who shows electronic approval that he's coming to do business in Nigeria, because you are allowed to apply as a businessman, whether you are from Germany, you are from America, you can go to our website, www.immigration.gov.ng, go to Visa and Arrival Portal. It will give you a choice. Are you coming for what purpose? Only business. You see only business. That will pop up. Then you fill your business interest, where you are coming, you apply, you have a print. That's for non-Nigerians and non-Africans? Non-Africans. They will have that paper. So we have told airlines, if you see somebody with that electronic document, even if you showed it on in his computer or laptop, no need to be printed document these days, because it has a barcode, that person should be allowed to board an aircraft to come to Nigeria. So that businessman will be allowed. As we are rolling the system, we have allowed Nigerians who have evidence to prove they are Nigerian citizens. I give you an example. You are living in New York, your passport expired, or you have submitted application for a Nigerian passport, it has not been renewed, and you have American passport with you. You can carry the photocopy of your passport. You'll be allowed to board. You will get the visa at the point of entry. We will not say you can enter because your name is Nigerian. We'll treat you as American or as a British. You pay the visa fees at the point of entry, but because we know you are once our citizens in Nigeria. But other persons, like tourism, we're working out the facilities. We cannot allow just a tourist to land without cooperation with the tourist agencies in Nigeria. But that tourist will also be allowed to pick visa on arrival as we start operating. So it is very clear the number of people who can get. But anybody who is coming to take up employment, to join spouse, to reside in Nigeria, don't come to the airport, except even if you are an African, if you are coming to take up employment, go to the embassy and apply for visa for employment. So it's only for short visit at the airport.
What about this quota, this expatriate quota, which we also understand that, organizations here are allowed to have? There's talk of lots of abuse within that particular system. Is it something that you're aware of?
Let me explain what expatriate quota is. Expatriate quota is a slot given to a company that is registered in Nigeria to employ specialized people. It doesn't mention the people. It will say one general manager, one engineer, one crate maker, some just titles like that. And I'm glad to say the Minister of Interior has been very critical, especially Ralph Benny. He has been very, very critical. In short, people are complaining that he's not approving expatriate quota. He felt that, look, why do we give slot to companies to take space that Nigerians can can occupy. So this bring about the ministry. It's not issued by immigration, but issued by my ministry. The ministry ensure that they get a letter from the Content Development Agency to make sure that that slot is not available in Nigeria before it is given. But when it is given, that company will come to us and say, look, I have 5 expatriate quota. I want to employ Mr. B to take the place.
I'm sorry I have to interrupt you. I'll let you finish your thoughts when we come back from this break. Please stay with us. Mohammed Babandede is still with us. He is the Controller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service. Just before we go to Lagos now, will you quickly finish your thoughts on the expatriate quota system? And, well, you say that the Minister for Interior has not been granting it. But before this development, we heard that there had been abuses within the system, that all that people had to do was pay $1,000 and immigration officials would happily grant them the quota system.
No, that's what I'm explaining.
Yeah.
When the Ministry of Interior grant the quota, it's a paper to a company, not to individual. Then it moves to immigration for implementation. So it's like a policy document from Ministry of Interior. And I said that the President Minister has been very top on expatriate quota. I must commend him for having the strength to resist a lot of pressure, for him why he is not renewing. He wants to make sure it is only the same slot that is given. But if approval comes to us, what do? The companies bring such individual. You have one slot for engineer, you bring that engineer, you are regularized, and regularizations request you to pay a $1,000 for resident permit. So what we are saying is that the abuses are in many places, but we must tackle them. When, from the issuance of the expatriate quota, it's possible for documents to be put together, but now it has been made online. The minister has made it online, but document has to be checked more. We must make sure that company that collected it is a real company, not a briefcase company. So these are issues which the ministry is working on. But when it is given to us, it is our duty to make sure that if you are an engineer, and stated you're an engineer, you are doing the engineering job. I think that's where the monitoring is key on our side. If we don't monitor, we don't see result. I'm sorry to say that that is a huge tax before us where we need a lot of resources to do this monitoring. It means each expatriate who says he's an engineer in Julius Berger, for example, we must find out where he's working, he's doing engineering work. But if we find him in the market selling stuff, that person is to be removed because you are not allowed to go and sell things in the market. You are supposed to be an engineer. So these are the areas which people consider an abuse, and I really accept a responsibility that we have to do more in monitoring to make sure people occupy that responsibility. That's why we brought the e-registration of migrant. When you register us, you tell us where you're working, and that's why we brought the alert system. When you arrive and you say you are on short visit, the alert system will tell us you have overstayed. We'll look for you. So we need a lot of resources to do this monitoring. But I assure Nigerians that Mr. President has already given directive to us under the executive order of protecting Nigerian job to make sure that expatriate quotas granted to people are not abused by doing other job other than the job given to them.
Let's go to Lagos now. My colleagues have questions for you.
Yes, indeed. We would like to start with this. I mean, time and again, with guests, when they do come in here, some of them say, they say over 1,000 illegal entry points in the country which are not being manned. So if that's the case, all of this work, most of this work that is being done may just be undone by some of these areas. Could you clarify if that is true? Do we have all those entry points, and what is immigration doing about it?
I wish I counted the numbers because I had a lot of numbers coming on, look, how can you count the entry point on an open border, for example, between Katsina and Niger? Open border, for example, or between Sokoto and Niger, where it is a landmass, where there are no clear roads for passages. We can say we have control posts and there are a lot of multiple illegal entry. The best way we can solve them is a solution I gave. First, electronic surveillance. Secondly, we must continue to open more forward operational bases that will patrol the areas and come back. And thirdly, we must continue to enhance e-registration after entry. So even if we miss you at the border, after 90 days, we have to look for you in your houses, in your hotels, wherever you are, to make sure you register. And that registration is not compulsory only on the migrant, but also on the person who provided the accommodation. If you're a hotelier, if you are a landlord, you need to know that your foreigner has not registered. It's your responsibility. So we need to do more. It's not enough for us to man the borders. We cannot invest 100% on land borders. It depends on a country. Each country has its strategy based on geography. If you are like UK, you are an island, you may invest more in the airports because majority of people will come through air. But a country like us, which has land mass, large population, we need to invest at the border, we need to invest at the visa, we need to invest after entry because people will enter however much you try, but you must make sure you get them after they enter illegally.
So does that mean that organizations, hoteliers, companies, they have to check whichever foreigner is, in their vicinity or they're dealing with, they need to check and ensure that they have registered or that they're in the country legally?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. We just concluded the amnesty period Mr. President granted for immigrant registration, and we are going to engage every person, traditional rulers, state governors, hoteliers, landlords, because it's their responsibility too, that if you have a person who is not a citizen of Nigeria, you must make sure that person is registered. If not, you will also be liable. There is a penalty under the law for not reporting. So we'll engage non-Nigerians, we'll engage Nigerians for allowing people to stay in their territory without registering. So you can see it's a huge involvement. We have planned for registration in hotels, and you can see many countries do. If you arrive in a country, they collect your passport and scan. We are planning to do that so that we scan your documents as a visitor before you are given accommodation. If you don't do that, you don't get the support of those people. A lot of people may find their way staying in the country for long without reporting. So we'll involve everybody.
So how is this part of that new visa policy going to work? We understand that if you've got dual citizenship, 2 passports, you can come to the country with one of them without going to apply for any visa. How are you going to operationalize that?
No, it is talking about Nigerian citizens. The Constitution of Nigeria allows citizens to be in possession with other nationalities in addition to their nationality, which means like you are a Nigerian citizen, you live in the UK, and Her Majesty's government decide to give you UK citizenship, you can keep your Nigerian passport. UK government allows it. You can come with a Nigerian passport or UK passport. But there are countries that don't allow this. I give you example, China, Japan, Germany, Israel, Saudi Arabia, they all don't accept dual citizenship. So if you said, I want to be a citizen of Saudi authorities will tell you you have to renounce your citizenship. And the renunciation is a process through the Ministry of Interior to Mr. President. Once you renounce your citizenship, you don't have Nigerian passport. You are not a citizen. But the reality is that you are a Nigerian by birth in the Constitution. Instead of us to give you difficulty for entrance, we allow you to have a visa at the point of entry if you are able to bring an identity with it. So that could be an issue which we are working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. One of the key examples we have set for Ministry of Foreign Affairs is the way another country, I don't want to give example, that has overseas citizen. They don't accept dual citizenship, but they have a card called overseas citizen. If you are their national, you took the nationality of another country, they would give you a card which shows that you are a citizen by birth. So if our missions through Ministry of Foreign Affairs will give a unique card or online registration, which can be linked to immigration, we know you are citizens, we'll allow you. Or you have a copy of your old passport, we can check the system. We give you visa on arrival. But we are talking about descendant of these families of Nigerians. For example, grandchildren, who are also entitled. Grandchildren may not have even Nigerian name in them. So that's why the registration in the embassy or consular will help. So it is only meant for Nigerian by birth so that we can keep the affinity, we can keep the relationship. They can visit their fathers, their grandparents whenever they come to Nigeria without hassling for visa. Not even that. There are some people who even have the passport. They have the passport. They just want to travel today. And they realize that their Nigerian passport has expired. I'm a British citizen, I have Nigerian passport, I have British passport, but I have to travel to Nigeria today. And I looked at it, my Nigerian passport has expired. I want to travel. Come with the expired passport. You show it as evidence, you get the visa at the point of entry and enter. So it's good for our citizens.
Regarding that U.S. Visa restriction, we understand that the U.S. immigration had been speaking with Nigeria immigration on putting in place 6 safeguards in order to meet its standards and address the gaps on information sharing and vetting of foreign nationals. Nigeria put in place 3 of those safeguards, which are electronic passports, traveler identity data, and sharing information on known or suspected terrorists. But we understand we defaulted in 3, which is lost and stolen passport, sharing criminal history, and sharing passport exemplars. Where are we with all of this?
I don't want to comment on this. I know we have done well. I don't want to comment because Mr. President has already set a committee to be chaired by the Minister of Interior to handle this issue. So I don't want to comment, but I'd like to assure you that we have complied with most of those issues being discussed, but it's not an issue to be discussed at this point.
But, you know, it's also interesting that this new visa policy is coming just right after the announcement by the U.S., you know, placing immigration restriction on countries, including Nigeria. And they're basically saying that, you know what, since we have issues with identity management, then we perhaps, you know, pose a risk on the nation's security. So coming to Nigeria, now we have the Nigeria Visa Policy 2020. And the question on the minds of a lot of Nigerians is, do we have such, you know, restrictions also? I mean, for countries that might pose a risk? I mean, do we have such in this policy?
First, I would like to tell you that the visa policy was not written just 2-3 days ago. It's not true that because there is a ban for travel. It is not even travel ban. It is a ban for people who want to take residency in the U.S. People must have a clear understanding of it. It is a resident visa ban for people who take up employment. But I'm glad to tell you that this policy of visa on arrival, Nigerian visa policy started almost a year ago. So you can't say that we just thought about it and wrote a document to respond to an issue. It is not. But I just explained that the Nigerian visa policy has an acronym which we call RESET. First, the RE is for reciprocity. Anybody who gives us good treatment will do the same to that country. And I give you a good example like multiple entry visa for 2 years, 4 years, or 5 years. The British give us up to 5 years. The US give us up to 2 years. This visa has, I have already given instruction based on the directive of Mr. President that all missions should issue multiple visa to any deserving British or American citizen or any country that give us multiple entry visa. So we are already complying. So there is no issues of reciprocity which can be ignored. It's a continuous process. Even for the Africans, we can review it in the process. The S is security. Security, we have measured all what we are doing based on security. You don't need to know a person. Going to the embassy to collect a visa would be the same to coming to airport to collect a visa. You just want to know the person, if the person is a threat to you. I think we can know the person before he comes to us. And that is the key issue involved. When we talk of transparency, we have reduced the possibility of human contact, officers having contact with the visa applicant so that they will ask for money or collect cash. They are like visa on arrival for businessmen. They are paying online. They will print their payment, everything, and come along with it. So when you reduce contact between officers and persons, you have become very transparent. So the reset issue, forget I didn't talk about the economy. The E is the economy. We make sure it is beneficial economically to our country. Anything we check and then it is going to benefit another country, we will not follow that process. Right. So we are considerate about reciprocity, about security, about economy, and about transparency.
You know, I was going through your introduction in that policy, and you know, you said that this new policy will require extensive training for staff of the NIS. So I would like to know, has that training begun? Because you said it will, and what kind of training are we looking into, especially because of the issues around professionalism and what have you?
The visa policy has been approved. It will continue to be implemented gradually. Already our officers are used to visa on arrival. We have issued over 63,000 visa on arrival 2019 alone. And if you look at the segregation, the increase is high between quotas. Between each quota, you see the increase is almost 50% in 2019. So our officers are already conversant in handling visa on arrival. Even though there are some challenges, we have arrested some people, 2 or 3 people this year with a fake visa on arrival. It means there is somebody who scanned a fake document. The person didn't do the process, just scanned a document. But when you come to the airport, you put the system will reject it. So we have done that training. But we'll do more training in terms of even our officers at the mission. We'll even train more foreign officers where immigration officers are not around, because the visa policy is going to be e-based. You can apply for Nigerian visa online if you want to take residency, submit it and go to the embassy and get your document. So we are talking about e-system which require a lot of training, a lot of collaboration. Not even training, we need to collaborate with other agencies. For example, we are talking about investment visa, where if you invest certain threshold, you will be allowed to have not only entry visa, but you have a resident visa. We cannot do that alone. We need to work with the CBN. We need to work with the investment commission. We need to work with the state governments, because there may be investment at the state level. So this is key. How do we do issues of tourism without working with tourist agencies and also service providers in the tourist industry? So we need to collaborate, we need to do training. It will be a continuous process, but the process has already started gradually, and I assure you that we'll be able to implement it effectively.
One question that you raised an issue the other time about the national border management strategy. I'm wondering, how does that strategy factor in the border communities, which you said the other time you couldn't have counted them all? How does the national border management strategy you talked about factor in the border communities, or some form of engagement or partnership with them to help what you do?
Yes. In the national migration policy, which Nigeria developed many years ago, it gives Nigerian immigration the leadership about border. It's clearly, very clear that immigration will lead about border. So we felt we don't want to do a national border policy, because it would be a big crisis. It will involve other agencies which are not under us, some of them are other ministries. So we decided to do Nigeria Immigration Border Policy 2019 to 2023. And we didn't do it alone. We invited all the agencies, the military, the police, Department of State Security Service, all of them, they sat down together, we developed this policy. This policy has deliverables. One of the deliverables is visa reform, putting identity system in the airports, working with the communities, as you said, is key. That system allows us to establish community border policing. Why do you have traditional rulers? Why do you have people in the community and you look strange among them? You need to work with them to patrol the borders, to give you information. Because what we found out, for example, in terms of even exit, people think when we say border, they're worried about people who will enter. We even worried about people who go out. There are a lot of young Nigerians who are trafficked, who have been intercepted.
Sorry to jump in, but
desert. They die in the desert because they want
to... we need to squeeze in this just to manage the time before we wind down. Now, why should immigration be imposting on foreign missions? Because we understand that the career diplomats, they have all of these trainings in their some of the courses they take. So having immigration persons being imposed into those foreign missions is duplication of responsibility, because some career diplomats say they can actually carry out these functions. And then they don't even report to the Foreign Service Office. The immigration pays them, so they report to immigration. So there seems to be some clash in those areas.
There is no clash. I served as an attaché in Germany, 91 to 96. So foreign embassy is like Nigeria. I think that people should know. If a person is appointed as ambassador, he is the representative of Mr. President. And as a representative of Mr. President, he works with many agencies in government. There will be defense, there will be culture, there will be trade, there will be immigration. So everybody performs his duty under the auspices of the ambassador. Visa is a responsibility. Passport issuance is a responsibility of immigration by law. I'm not saying that we are taking it from somewhere. The Immigration Act gives us the power to do this job. And it is centrally controlled. For example, you come to issue a passport, you have a password to approve passport, you have password to amend data, you have to communicate with headquarters for other requests to be made that is above it. We cannot work with staffs, who will work from person to person. They work from, look, it's a professional job. It doesn't change anything. We have reduced the number of staffs in the missions to a minimal number, but it is the same Foreign Affairs has been asking us to open many missions and put machines. It's not possible for immigration job to be done by other person. Like the way defense job cannot be done by other. It's the job of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is diplomacy, and they're doing very well.
All right, Mr. Mohammed Babandede, we'll be back in just a moment.
Yes, Mohammed Babandede is still with us. He is the Controller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service. Let me quickly wrap up with this question from one of our viewers who is saying, let me quickly see if I can find that question now. He says, why does, well, if you want to quickly respond to this one, whether there's been an attitudinal change on the part of, Nigeria, the officials of Nigerian Immigration Service. They believe that perhaps they have not been trained to implement all of the lofty ideals which you're looking to implement. Do you agree?
No. I would like to say to Nigerians, and I've said this several times, machines doesn't solve problems. And I believe in that. If you buy a beautiful machine and keep it, good policy doesn't change the problem. It's a human being that matters. In short, it's better to have a good human being and have a little bad machine than to have beautiful machine without good person. I'm aware of this as a manager. And I'm glad to say we introduced what we call horsemanship. Horsemanship. And it's a project assisted by the Dutch government. What does it mean? Treat your customer the way he wants to be treated. With a smile, with respect, with dignity. And that matters a lot. And we have trained airport officers. We have trained the certified trainers who can train anywhere in the world with the support of the Dutch. If somebody is honest, we have seen response from travelers at the airport, how immigration officers are no longer asking for chocolate, or how immigration officers are no longer smiling for money. You know, there's a way you smile. Oh, guy, you are welcome, or you know very well that guy is looking for money. There's a way you can say, oh, guy, save Johnny, oh, it is a request for money. So we know this very well. We have trained our officers. I'm very proud of those officers that the human factor is there, especially in our airport. I know that we have more challenges in the land border because they are dealing with bush people, but we are also getting there that they feel they can misbehave. We are dealing with a lot in the passport offices. There are a lot of combination in some passport offices of human relation. So I believe in that. As a person, I have handled people individually. Look, the human beings must be respected, even if, that's what the law, even if the person is a criminal, even if you catch him, give him respect, and that's what we're doing. I believe human factor is important.
Well, we can only wish you all the best because we, of course, want this to work, and we also want citizens in Nigeria to feel safe and those who want to come home to be able to do so with ease. So we will hope that this policy, when implementation starts, I believe it has started already, will be very effective and will work well. We have to thank you for sharing your time with us this morning. Mohammed Babandede is the Controller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service. Thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, that's it for this program this morning. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
I'm Chamberlain Usal.
I'm Kayode Okikelu.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful day.